How are we doing, guys? Welcome back to the channel. In today's video I'm going over a Succession Ninja PvP guide over the fundamentals, and the reason this video is being made is most people I spar with, especially a lot of the people, almost everyone that asks me for advice, I find that there's similar gaps in knowledge and I always end up giving the same advice and tips, but this advice and tips is just a bit more baked into the core of Ninja. That's why it's not labeled really a tips and tricks video, because this is stuff that you really need to understand to excel on the class. And I've even seen ninjas that have mastered a lot more difficult aspects of Ninja, but one or two of these core fundamental things that the ninja has access to and should use, I don't see them using. So that being said, let's get into the guide. Now, one of the most important areas in Succession Ninja is your movement. Now, this is not really something I can teach you. It's something you're going to have to really teach yourself, because it's mostly about cooldown management. Now, as a newer ninja, you might find there's a couple of skills you might not be using that you can do as movement options, because you just maybe thinking about too many other things and you just neglect it a little bit more than you should. But after a while, when you do get used to using all your movement skills, you need to be careful about stamina management. And there are certain traps I see a lot of ninjas keep falling into, and again, these are traps that I still fall into these days sometimes myself, and I still need to improve myself on it as well. But I'm going to identify some skills that you might want to restrict chaining together or restrict overusing when you don't need to, and that is going to differ depending on who you're fighting, how they're fighting, and how you're fighting. But let's say a very obvious movement chain that you don't want to spam if you're low stamina is, well, don't usually want to spam if you're low stamina, is go step, alert stance, go step, shadow slash, go step, alert stance. You can see, like, I've used a lot of stamina there, 40% of my stamina. Yes, we moved a lot, but we've also now put a lot of stam usage in there, and if you didn't have the stamina in the first place, you're not going to be able to, you're going to find that through that movement chain you're going to run out of stamina and get caught, or you're going to end up with 0 stamina because you didn't have a lot to start off with. Let's say you're around the 50% stamina when you started that chain, you're going to be at 10% by the end of that, and if your opponent is out positioning you and using his stamina more wisely, then you're in a really sticky scenario. But again, that movement chain might be the exact movement chain you need to catch someone when you're going into a catch. Or if you understand the opponent that's trying to catch you is also low on stamina, but he's playing very aggressive, maybe at that point you need to use it. So it is very scenario dependent, but try and identify when you don't need to use it, and try and get out of the habit of spamming it if you're just spamming those skills specifically in that order, if you're just trying to move around a little bit and you're not using it for a purpose. Next thing, if you are really low on stamina and you have outpositioned your opponent, let's say you've outpositioned your opponent and you know he can't CC you for a second, go into an SA skill and then maybe don't go step. And then maybe go step and disengage with the Ghost Greeting Shadow Stomp. Maybe don't do Shadow Slash at the end there. Go into, let's say, a forward guard if you've disengaged, or super armor, or just another SA lingering skill. So the 3 main skills that you need to really use with a purpose is your Ghost Step. Ghost Step is a bit more versatile and there's a lot more scenarios you should use it in, but Ghost Step Shadow Slash is one that you really want to be in a position to catch someone or really out position someone to get the advantage on them if you're using it, or if your opponent's pushing on you and you really need to use it to protect yourself, because you know if you do Ghost Step into a movement skill, because the first part of the movement skill is unprotected, that might get you caught. So at that point, Ghost Stepping into Shadow Slash is really important. So again, it's about understanding your scenarios, but if you don't need to, try not to use Ghost Step Shadow Slash too much. Or Alert Stance, go step into Alert Stance, specifically or especially the Malice Alert Stance, because that's using extra stamina. And restrict the use of your alert stances and restrict the use of your shadow slashes, and if really needed, your ghost step if you need that stam regeneration to get to a certain point in stamina where you then can burst all these skills together to outposition your opponent and catch them. So hopefully that gives you guys a good idea on what to look out for when you're getting caught and what to build upon to improve your movement and your positioning. Okay, so now we're going to go into a couple of cancels. I'm going to focus on the ones that I don't see a lot of the ninjas use when I'm sparring with them. I'm not going to go through all of them. It's like the obvious ones where you've got alert stance into beheading of the dead. Like, yes, this is a good catch. Obviously, after the reworks, it's going to get even better because now you can cancel the after the first animation of beheading with alert stance when the reworks come out. So that's something everyone's going to have to work on to get into their kit. If you don't get the catch and your opponent might be able to CC you, then alert stance is going to be really useful in that situation. But I'm not going to go through that obvious stuff. I'm just, like I said, going to go through the stuff that I see, not the catches that are useful that I don't see a lot of ninjas use. So the first one, ninja step into beheading. Really strong one there. You're going iframe into AoE CC into iframe. You can also do the same when alert stance comes out. You can do ninja step into beheading into alert stance. The next one is shadow stomp. So you could do shadow stomp into beheading into iframe. And the same applies when alert stance comes out after the reworks. You could do shadow stomp into beheading into alert stance. But the ghost step one may be a bit more viable because when you are on an unprotected skill like shadow stomp, you're going into another unprotected skill. Your opponent might be trying to CC you at this point because they're seeing openings in your kit. So going into alert stance, they might be able to outposition you to get behind you. So ghost step can have more advantages than alert stance, but again, that's something that's going to take practice for you to understand when to use which one. So there's same exact two starters we can do with Fox Claw. So ninja step into Fox Claw and shadow stomp into Fox Claw. Now those first four cancels there are really good at catching. The Fox Claw ones can also be used as good re-CCs as well. Beheading not so much because it's a stun, and if you've CC'd your opponent on the ground, then obviously that stun's not going to be as useful. But then you've got some other ones as well when you're lingering SAs. Beheading, pretty much after any SA in the ninja's kit, you can do beheading after. So that last one was ankle cutter. So this one we're going to do crescent slash, beheading, ghost step. And it's not just ghost step, you can do alert stance after the changes as well. So again, it's about identifying when is the right time to use which of the cancels. And then you've also got shuriken flight into ghost step or alert stance. You can also do it after blade spin. And obviously there is also red rain. So I kind of went from the best to the worst there. Now when it comes to red rain and blade spin into beheading, those ones is going to be a lot fewer scenarios where they're going to be useful. But your SA movement, there's going to be some more scenarios than those final two where that's useful there. But the ones like ninja step and stomp, especially the ninja step since it's an iframe start, into the beheading, those are your real powerful cancels that you want to learn first, and then learn this stuff a little bit later on, because they're a lot more situational, the last ones I showed you. But when the situations do arise, they are important that you understand how to use them. Now everything I showed you with beheading is exactly the same for Fox Claw as well. So you can do, well, minus the alert stance because Fox Claw is not getting an alert stance. But you can do all those SA skills, do Fox Claw at any point, or any point or as soon as it is available, and then go step out of it. The only one that's not true is Shuriken Flight. If you linger Shuriken Flight, it does slow Fox Claw. So Shuriken Flight, you can use the Fox Claw cancel, but you've only got a small window. Even that window that I used there wasn't fast enough. It's a very, very small window that you have to do the Fox Claw cancel. So just do be wary of that one. Maybe just don't use that one if you're messing it up too much. And primarily use the Ninja Step one, use the Shadow Stomp one, and if needed, you can use the SA movement ones. An example I can give you guys that recently became useful for me when I was in a 2v1. I'd caught someone with Beheading of the Dead. So there was someone else coming towards me. My opponent was already CC'd, but I couldn't go for the re-CC at that point because I had a lot of skills on cooldown. So I did Blade Spin. So I stopped the opponent coming towards me from CCing me. And then at the end of Blade Spin, I cancelled with Fox Claw to re-CC my opponent. And then I repositioned and killed him off with whatever skills I had available. So as a re-CC, Fox Claw is very, very good. So just remember that as well. When you've caught someone, using an SA skill to avoid getting CC'd because someone's seeing that you've got the catch and they're trying to come CC you. Using the SA then going to the Fox Claw is very, very useful. and then as an initial catch as well, and even as a re-CC if needed, doing the movement skills like Ninja Step and Shadow Stomp can be very powerful too. But again, this goes in order of usefulness. Your Ninja Step most useful, Shadow Stomp dangerous but very useful as well, and then you've got your SA skills that have less uses than the first two, but more than beheading, because again it's a float rather than a stun. So learn the first two, like with beheading, learn the movement catches and the movement re-CCs first. Once you're comfortable with that, then start learning this SA version of it and incorporate that into your ninja gameplay. Okay, and the last catch, this one, I'm pretty sure I learned this one from Yellow. So block jump into back ghost step, smoke screen, beheading. Smoke screen alert start beheading is what I should say. And then again, at the end of that beheading, you can do alert stance again if you haven't got the catch. Now, this is a really good chain of skills to use to catch someone, but don't overuse it. Especially if you're fighting someone for an extended period of time. If you keep doing this, they're going to recognize it and they're going to be able to CC you instead of you CC them. But do practice it, and if you have to overuse it to get the muscle memory, then overuse it at the beginning, and then bring it back down and use it more efficiently once you've got that muscle memory built in. And a lot of the times you're going to just notice that you've already caught them with the smoke screen, or you've caught them with the block jump, and you've also just smoke screened because maybe you didn't notice too early on that you got them with the block jump, so you end up getting the stiff into the stun. And then it's up to you what you want to do next. What I like to do is, if I'm in a 1v1, using Ghost Claw as a filler is really good in this scenario. And then it's Shadow Stomp Blade Spin. But that catch itself, learn it, and then break it apart as well. Sometimes don't use the beheading. If you do Ghost Step into the smoke screen, maybe just Ghost Step out and then Ninja Step away if you need. And don't go into the beheading if your opponent is recognizing it and protecting himself against it. Okay, so for the last section of this video, I'm going to be talking about re-CC specifically. So that's CCing someone after you've already caught them, the best ways to do so. I'm going to be focusing on air attacks, but I will be mentioning a double CC as well. I think the best way to re-CC your opponent is with using air attack re-CCs, but there are scenarios where if you really outgear your opponent and your combo damage is extremely high, it's actually better to do a double CC, so a throw kick into Fox Claw specifically being the double float combo. That's going to not guarantee, but it's going to have a much higher chance of CCing your opponent than just throwing one CC at your opponent. You can take that a step further by doing throw kick into Fox Claw into Shadow Stomp. If you want to do a bit more damage, you can do throw kick into Shadow Stomp for a double re-CC as well. But that being said, if your opponent is tankier, you really want to focus on doing an air attack re-CC. The two primary air attack re-CCs you guys really want to learn is Boss Slaughter Fatal Blow Flow and Shadow Stomp Blade Spin. These are very powerful re-CCs. To give you a bit more context, after the reworks for the Shadow Stomp Blade Spin, after reworks, you're going to be able to do heart aiming and then instantly do Shadow Stomp Blade Spin, because heart aiming will cancel Shadow Stomp. So it would look like that, but without the ghost step, so it'd be a lot faster. This is a great way of bursting people down. In 1vx, if you have the time and the position to be able to do this, you'll be able to kill your squishies very quickly off the CC, which will then reduce the number of opponents in front of you by one, making it easier for you to deal with whatever's left to deal with. That being said, going back to Boss Slaughter, make sure you're doing the correct animation. The wrong input looks like this. So the input itself is, for Xbox players, left trigger B and then forward on your left stick. When you press left trigger B, you're going to continue holding left trigger B and then press forward. And then continue holding forward, so you're holding all three inputs by the time you do the skill animation. For PlayStation players, that's L2 circle, continue holding L2 circle before pressing and holding your forward on left stick to do the correct animation. PC players, I'm assuming you already know this, but just in case there's some new PC players watching, that's Shift F, continue holding Shift F, then press and hold W to do the input. So make sure they go into the sky. So once that's done, then you do Fatal Blow Flow. So next thing is you want to use both of these if you catch your opponent with a stiff, and obviously if they're available. So say you caught your opponent with a Malice, do Boss Slaughter, Fatal Blow Flow, and then do some filler and re-CC with Shadow Stomp, Blade Spin. That's going to be crazy damage. Obviously, Heart Aiming Shadow Stomp, Blade Spin is really good burst. I don't know what the best combo for the re-CC is going to be until I get my hands on it myself. But the main principle is using the double air attacks. We can worry about the best fillers to use after the reworks. And again, it is going to be very dependent on what you have off of cooldown. But to give you guys some stuff that you can use now before the reworks come out that is good in 1v1s is after the Fatal Blow Flow, you can do your Black Moonlight into Shadow Stomp, Blade Spin for tier 3 add-ons. That's a really good filler to use. Another one after the Fatal Blow Flow would be using your Ghost Claw for the attack speed add-on and a lot of damage. So this one, you can do all 3 hits and then go into Shadow Stomp, Blade Spin like that. So those are 2 good fillers for now, but there's going to be a lot more options later because we really want to try and fit in Heart Aiming Stomp. But like I said, we're going to have to wait to test to see what's best after the reworks come out. And once you're used to using these, you can also then start mixing it up. So by mix-ups, if you're in a 1vx, sometimes after Boss Slaughter, going straight into the Blade Spin is more protected and better to do. You're not going to get as many air attacks on console because of the delayed input from the hotbar. But on PC, you should get more air attacks on this re-CC than we do on console. But it's still a great option. So that's one of them. And this one is very good on console and even better on PC is not Red Rain, sorry, is Shadow Stomp into Fatal Blow Flow. So it does take camera management, so obviously you're gonna have to get used to that for console players, much easier to do on PC. But if your Blade Spin's on cooldown, that's a great choice for a re-CC. I would pick, that was a bit slow there, but I would pick the Shadow Stomp into Fatal Blow Flow over the Boss Slaughter Fatal Blow Flow personally. Okay, so now some extra mix-ups that you can do. If Blade Spin's on cooldown, actually doing Throw Kick, the double CC we talked about earlier, the Throw Kick into Shadow Stomp will make your Shadow Stomp do more damage because the very first hit or 2 of Shadow Stomp won't get air attack. But if you do Throw Kick first, then all of Shadow Stomp gets air attack. But I wouldn't recommend to do this if your Blade Spin's off cooldown because it's better to do Shadow Stomp, Blade Spin than do Throw Kick, Shadow Stomp, Blade Spin. I don't know about PC if it's fast enough for you guys. You might want to test that. But definitely for console, that's a no bueno. Shadow Stomp, Blade Spin over Throw Kick, Shadow Stomp. But when Blade Spin's on cooldown, that is a good option. Another one is Throw Kick, Fatal Blow Flow. Again, if you don't have the Boss Slaughter, if you don't have the Shadow Stomp, then you've got that option as well. Also, I'd still pick Blade Spin over this, but it's completely up to you, and it completely, again, depends on what you have available. Now, finally, after the reworks, Shuriken Flight just on its own is a very good re-CC. It's going to be amazing. It's not going to be as good as the other 2 I just showed you in terms of damage output, but in a 1vx, it's probably one of the most protected ways of getting an air attack re-CC. So it's going to be much better in those scenarios. However, even a 1v1, if your other 2 air attacks are off cooldown, it might even be better to do Shuriken Flight instead of, what's it called, a Throw Kick Stop. It will definitely be more damage than doing a double re-CC, Throw Kick Foxclaw. So, but not right now. You have to wait for the air smash to get removed after the reworks. But that's like all the kind of extra little air attacks that we can do. And there's probably a few I'm missing. You can probably do some weird stuff like that, like Crescent Slash cancel into Stomp. There's other weird stuff you can do, but I'd say those are the most important ones. But if you can think of other ones that may be really useful that I'm just not thinking of, please leave those in the comment section down below. And that is my guide on the fundamentals to help you guys learn about when to not use some skills in your movement, learn about some important cancels and ways to use them for catching opponents, and then learn about how to re-CC your opponent for maximum damage after the catch. Guys, I hope the video was helpful. If it was, consider sharing it in the community and leaving a like, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.